Jehovah's people taken into spiritual captivity by Babylon the Great? Well, we know, we've learned recently, it was sometime in the 2nd century CE. After the death of the last of the apostles who were acting as a restraint, and imitation Christians began to infiltrate the congregation, and the ugly baby Christendom was born. But now, when did that captivity end? Well, we know 1919, the year when true anointed Christians came out of captivity and pure worship was restored. And that means, because this is year 2018, Jehovah's people have been set free for 99 years, almost 100 years now. Now, what has been the spiritual condition of Jehovah's people during these nearly 100 years? Well,
Now, these Jehovah Witnesses will tell you in their Revelation book that the two horned beasts is America and Britain. And also in their Daniel book, they will tell you that America and Britain is the feet, the clay and the iron mixed together. So they would tell you these America has God's people in captivity. You see, when you go to Revelation 13 and 10, it tells you, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So the next two verses talk about the two horned beasts. So the two horned beasts led individuals into captivity. We know Britain and America started the slave trade. They were the main people putting people on ships and putting them in captivity. You see? Then when you go to Revelation 11 in verse 2, it talks about the temple. It said, let me read the second verse. It says, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall be tread under foot 42 months. So he's letting you know that these individuals will be pretty much in captivity to the Gentiles. They was given to the Gentiles. And then in verse 8, it tells you, well, even in verse, let's see here. In verse 4, it talks about the two olive trees. That's the two kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Two candlesticks, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. When you go to Jeremiah, it tells you the nation of Israel will be considered, will be like an olive tree. Now that's for one, to give you the fact that this is the nation of Israel is talking about. Then in, let's see here. Because it in verse 10, it says, they shall dwell upon the earth. They that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and send gifts one to another. You see, so these people were sending the Israelites as gifts, Merry Christmas gifts, slaves. But in verse 8, it say their dead bodies shall line the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So John wrote this 2,000 years ago, and the only people that went into captivity was the Israelites. they went into captivity to the so-called American British peoples who made up the two-horned beast. The verse right after the captivity, you got the two-horned beast being described, and the two-horned beast is America and Britain, who put peoples in captivity. Had nothing to do with some Edomites in the 1879 who started using God's name supposedly when it was already in the King James. Then when you had what do you say, 1919, after World War I, when the guy Russell died, and these Freemasons sent some other people to take over the organization. They started supposedly got out of jail after going to prison. You see, went to prison for teaching false doctrine and supporting Hitler and the so-called Jew haters. And the Jew haters had to punish they behind and throw them in prison and let them know they been had a deal with Russell. And so they trying to claim that they the one to win the captivity spiritually. And he know that the significance is that the Israelites went into captivity. That's who went into captivity once the apostles died, because Yahweh said that's what's gonna happen in 70 AD. That's when the captivity started happening. Let's get that in Luke, because these people know how to lie. Let's get that in Luke 21:24. Because that mirrors Revelation 11 when they talk about trotting under the foot. It says, and they, talking about the Israelites, because he told them in 23, he say, woe, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and the wrath upon this people. You see? And in 24 he said, they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. See, that trodden down goes back to Revelation 11. That's how you know it's the Israelites. Trodden down of the Gentiles until the time that the Gentiles be fulfilled. That's why he gave you the time, the 24 months. What did it say? It said 40 and 2 months. That's when the time of the Gentiles would be up, where the Israelites will wake up. Verse 11, it say, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and God and great fear fell upon them that saw them. You see? Now, these Jehovah wickedness, nobody ain't paying these people no attention. The elites ain't caring about these people. The governments ain't caring about these people. Nobody paying them no attention to have great fear. Especially Christendom ain't paying them. Babylon, the so-called Babylon the Great, who they say, ain't paying them no attention. So that just kills they lie. Because Babylon the Great is the great city America. America and Britain put these people into captivity, and they are the children of Israel, not no Jehovah wickedness, trying to claim that they God's people. They not God's people. God never got rid of his people. They them Edomites trying to tell people that God got rid of his people, because the Esau and the nation of Edom was going to war with the Israelites forever until the next kingdom, to Yahushua, who they even call Jesus Christ, come. Romans 11 say, I say then, has God cast away his people? God forbid. For I am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. He foreknew these people. He planned on this thing long time ago. And he was not going to cast away his people. And these Edomites want to tell somebody he cast away his people and chose they filthy, nasty self, and it ain't happening. You see, he didn't choose a bunch of people with leprosy and that's perverts and all type of stuff. Let's get that in Hebrews to show their true colors. That's who is lying and trying to say that God got rid of his people. Hebrews 12:16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau. See, these people sleep with animals. You see, that's a part of their nation. They sleep with animals and do all kind of profane, wicked stuff when it comes to the sexual urges. No other nation on earth sleep with animals but the so-called white man.